Good morning, everybody. It's sunny outside. I'm so happy. My plants are blooming. Sophie's going to give you a little pan of the weather out there. I think Auntie Katrina and Uncle Matt and the boys might even come up and use the boat today. It's so pretty outside. That gives me lots of hope that things are going to be looking better soon. And besides that, I'm sitting in my favorite place in the White House. My really cool magical spot here. Sometimes I let Sophie and Alice sit here, but mostly I hog it up for myself. We're going to read a story today from China, and the story is called The White Swan Express. And this is a story about adoption. The sun rose above North America, and all over the continent people were getting up. For some of them, it was a special day. In Miami, in the pink stucco house on Everglade Avenue, Beth Maynard was sound asleep, but Louis Maynard was awake. He sat by the window waiting for dawn. When the sun came up, he looked at his watch, then looked at his wife and burst into song. Oh, it's a beautiful day, hey, 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 to be on our way, yay, yay, yay. Beth opened her eyes and she sat up in bed. Ring, 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 went the little clock in the yellow house on Vashon Island near Seattle, Washington. You know about Vashon Island, don't you, Soph? But Andrea Lee and Charlotte Appleford were already awake. They'd been up for hours watching the sunrise over the Cascade Mountains. In Minnetonka, Minnesota, in the downstairs of the duplex on Ashland Avenue, the clock radio clicked and on came a song. Oh, happy day, sang the radio. Rebecca Mandel smiled and she hugged her cat Ralph and she leapt out of bed. And in Canada, on Willowdale Street in Toronto, Ontario, the alarm clock beep, beep, beeped in apartment 3C. Jessica and Howard Suzuki cuddled and kissed, and then they jumped out of bed. On the other side of the world, the moon rose over the continent of Asia. For some who were very young and very small, a special day was coming soon. In the city of Hangzhou, in the province of Guangdong in China, the moon shone through the orphanage window. 4 baby girls dressed exactly alike slept in their cribs. Wu Li slept on her back with her arms stretched wide like the branches of a tree. Li Xin snuggled on her side. Quan Yi slept curled in a ball, and Chun Mi Ni rolled over and smiled in her sleep. Still asleep, Wu Li smacked her lips. Li Xin burped. Quan Yi yawned, and Chun Mi now snored. Across the world in North America, the sun rose higher in the sky. In Miami, Beth Maynard soaked in the tub, and in the kitchen, Louis Maynard burned the toast. On Vashon Island, Andrea Lee put the kettle on for tea while Charlotte Appleford brushed her teeth. In Minnetonka, Rebecca Mandel ate a grapefruit and fed Ralph. In Toronto, Howard Suzuki sang in the shower while Jessica dried her hair. Then they dressed and they packed. They looked at their lists and checked their bags. There were diapers and baby carriers, knitted hats and blankets. There were bibs and baby food and booties and warm sweaters. There were burp cloths, cans of formula, and little panda bears. There were baby wipes and medicine and bottles and spoons. And there were papers. Lots of important papers and baby pictures as tiny as a stamp. They checked the bags and checked the papers, and then they checked them again. And finally, they were ready. The time had come. They went to the airport and stood in long lines. They showed their tickets and boarded the planes. They found their seats, took off their coats, stored their bags, and fastened their seatbelts. And all across North America, the planes took off. Up over Toronto, up up over Seattle, Miami, and Minneapolis, St. Paul. High over the clouds, the 7 travelers were on their way to China. On the very long trip, most of them slept and ate several meals, except for Louis Maynard, who was too excited and only wanted peanuts. Andrea Lee wrote in her journal, "I wonder if Li Xin will cry when I hold her. Will I be able to comfort her?" And next to her, Charlotte Appleford looked out at the clouds, closed her eyes, and said silently, "Thank you for this day." Rebecca Mandel read a book called What to Expect the First Year. Jessica Suzuki listened to a tape and practiced the words she would say. "Wo shi ni de mama," she whispered. "I am mommy." Oh boy, Ryan's going to mess this. He's going to know I can't speak Chinese. "Wo ai ni," she said softly. "I love you." Howard Suzuki looked at the photo of Chun Mei Ni and wondered if she would love him. As night fell, the planes got closer to China, and a few hours later, the pilots announced that it was time to get ready for landing. Louis and Beth Maynard held hands, and so did Andrea Lee and Carrie Appleford. Rebecca Mandel said a prayer. Jessica and Howard Suzuki held their photo of Chun Mi Ni, my knee. "Wo shi mi de mama," Jessica whispered, and all their hearts pounded. They were very tired when they arrived in China, but they still had further to go. And now the travelers from Toronto, Vashon Island, Miami, and Minnetonka became a group, trading stories and showing each other their tiny photos. Together, they boarded a bus and set out for Hangzhou, the city where they would meet their daughters. They passed factories and villages and cities and shops. Everything was covered with dense gray fog. If I'm pronouncing it right, it might be Guangzhou. That's the city Uncle Ryan used to live in. When they got to Hangzhou, they boarded another bus. "It goes right to your hotel," said the driver, "straight to the White Swan." Howard Suzuki laughed. "We're on the White Swan Express." And by the time they arrived at the White Swan Hotel, they were exhausted. They got their keys, found their rooms, and fell into bed. And across the city, at the orphanage, Wu Li, Li Xin, Quan Yi, and Chun Mai Ni had their last diaper change of the day. "Tomorrow will be your special day," whispered the aunties as they changed the babies. Then they bundled them in warm blankets and put them to bed. Wu Li slept on her back with her arms stretched wide like branches of a tree. Li Xin snuggled on her side. Guan Yi slept curled in a ball, and Chun Mai Ni rolled over and smiled in her sleep. Look at those cute little babies. I want one. The next morning there was a thick fog and gray drizzle as dawn came to the city of Hangzhou. At the White Swan Hotel, the travelers from North America brushed their teeth, took their showers, combed their hair, and then they got dressed. They checked their bags, checked their papers, and went to breakfast. Everyone had congee, which is rice porridge, and tea. That's what I had in China. I didn't like it that much, but it was okay. Across the city at the orphanage, the aunties woke the babies and got them ready. Each was told, "Today is the special day. You will meet your new family." "Zi shi yi gi te bai de ri zai," said the aunties. I have no idea what I'm saying. "Nimen yao hui jian nimen zin de ji ting." As they boarded the bus to the government building, the auntie said, "Bao bei men zu nimen jin tian hao yun ki," which means, "Good fortune today, sweet babies." At the White Swan Hotel, the 7 travelers left their rooms and walked down the hall, down the stairs and into the lobby. Lin Ning Xing was waiting for them. She had come from the orphanage to take them to meet their daughters. Out they went into the foggy morning behind Lin Ning Xing. At an open market, they stopped and bought silver bracelets with silver bells for their babies. The street was crowded with bicycles as they followed Lin Ningxing to the government building, and at first they laughed and talked, but as they got closer, they began to get quiet. They were even quieter as they entered the building, and quieter still when they went up the stairs and into the room where they would wait. A hush fell as they took their seats, and the room was as silent as still water, but their hearts thumped like drums and fluttered like the wings of a bird. They waited and waited, and it seemed like forever, but then finally, one by one, their daughters came. Beth and Louis Maynard met Wu Li. Andrea Lee and Charlotte Appleford met Li Xin. Rebecca Mandel met Qian Yi. Jessica and Howard Suzuki met Chun Mai Ni. At last they held their babies. They smiled, they hugged, and then Charlotte Appleford cried, tears of joy, and so did Howard Suzuki. Next, they fed their daughters. It was as if they'd always been theirs. Then, after signing all the papers, which took a long time, they left with their babies. And as they walked down the street in the city of Hangzhou, in the province of Guangdong, the fog began to lift and the sun broke through the mist. "Oh, this is the first sun we've seen in weeks," said the shopkeeper as they passed. "It means good fortune." I love the sun. 2 months later in North America, it was holiday season. As they had promised before they left China, the friends from the White Swan Express sent each other cards. For the Lunar New Year, the families again sent cards, as they would every year for years to come. And with the cards came photos of their daughters. Each daughter wore the bracelet with the silver bell the families had bought together that very special morning in the city of Hangzhou, in the province of Guangdong, in China. And on each of the cards it said in Chinese, "Happy New Year, Gang Hai Fat Choi." And this story, it says in the back, is based on the author who became a mother when the Chinese government let them adopt a baby. And that was the happiest day ever, and they wanted to write a book about it. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope there's sun shining where you are. And stay safe, everybody. Love you. Bye.